Ta-da! Hello! How we doing? Look! It's me! I got red eye. It's painful! Very painful. I thought maybe it's fatigue. I walk around the house all day with like a black patch on it just to cover it up. And while I'm seeing this beautiful water pattern from behind that patch, 2D vision is difficult. But it's not helped. It seems to be worse, getting redder, irritating, very painful. So that's my excuse for not streaming yesterday, like having other things to do. But hey, I did some work. Can't really work on that mission without adding spoilers now. I'm at the stage where I'm adding the thank you pop up, get out my face, where I'm adding a bit of more story, dialogue, conversation elements, driving the story through the mission. So I don't want to spoil it, even though whoever's playing is very unlikely to watch this, but I know people do, so I won't spoil it for you. My next question is, what next mission should I do? Or should I do the next mission, or should I fix some of the issues that have come up, which I've been putting off? Not a particular issue, but stuff that would help solve and needs to be done anyway. So we are talking. This might be a good one to do for today. Where is it? The F1 cruiser. Well, we've got the distinct debris and that's not completed, mate. Checklist. We need detailed collider and simple collider. The detailed collider is used for weapon collisions. Simple collider chips against themselves, and it's not got a simple collider because all my fighters keep getting stuck on the intricacies of the detailed collider. And since all my AI logic only knows how to go forward, the thrust, instead of using reverse, then it's impossible for them to get out without some sort of intervention in most cases, if at all. So that's why we added a simple collider, which is just one giant collider which provides a shape where they're not going to, you know, like scissor on like a strut or a wing and get that stuck on something that they can't get out of. So we just make a big bubble and they just bounce off the bubbles, in effect. We're going to go in Blender and see. We've already been working on it, so how far did we get? We've created the scale parts. F1 cruiser, there's nothing in here. Detailed gliders, nothing in here. Time date modified. I'm looking at date modified. 8th of Jan, 17-18 hours. And we come down to 8th of Jan, 16:27. And then we get to the AM, and then we get to the PM again. But that's wrong. Not even correctly ordered. Which is it's going to be this one. Is it this one? Detail colliders. Got that one. So we've got the detail colliders. That's in. That's the actual model we're using. Therefore, we need the simple colliders. Oh yeah, this is a new version of Blender, isn't it? And for some reason it now creates these FBM folders. Which I don't know why. I've not looked into. I'm sure if we did a quick Google, we'd know what it is. Something to do with the material, is it? Yeah. Created when you're exporting the model and you've got a material attached to it. It's creating that. Okay. Let's confirm what we've got. We have our cruiser model. And we have our detailed model. But we don't have our simple model. Yeah. It's a slightly more complex with the simple one because we can destroy the engines, which will change the shape. We still got a problem where we could get scissored in its rear. But hey, if it's dumb enough to fly into the back of it and get self stuck that way, then what can I do? Unlikely to happen. The only reason the colliding getting stuck is... Why would it get stuck? Because it's checking for simple colliders, isn't it? And there is no simple collider, so it can't avoid this. And that's what the problem is. That's why they keep getting stuck on it. Okay, cool, okay. Alright, looks like we used this one. We'll open this. We'll save as... Okay. So yeah, it's because it's got this material that creates this FBM file when we export it. Now we know. See? Leather. Get this microphone in my face. Oh wow. Now we can hear every single breath I make and breathe. Yes. Fantastic. Oh wow. Sounds so much better, getting clear. This is the difference between having a microphone in your face and moving it away, and it goes away. Now I sound very weak because two sticks in the room. But if you get it closer, you sound better. Wow. Look at that. Now I'm going to be accused of using a voice changer. Muppets. You too can have a voice as beautiful as mine. Simply by just sticking a microphone in your face. Yes. Walk around the rest of your life looking like this. Okay, we'll go outside and touch grass. Don't worry about it. Okay. So currently we're only doing the engines to make destructible, therefore... Oh look, how beautiful. I want to clear this up a bit. And by clearing it up a bit, this means I want to get rid of this because we're not teching. We don't care, do we? We do care. It can collide. We do care. Shush, Daniel. Pay attention to the things you do. Right. Body. You want to see how you do this? How do I turn this into convex? Mesh. Convex hull. Ta-da! And then I do mesh and clean up and do a limited dissolve, and look at that. Wow. 116 faces from 283. And before I used to do a decimate. But this is like next gen stuff. Still complexities that's not required. And can be cleaned up more to reduce that, especially with like these parts here. And an easy way to do that, that's an awkward one. Look at this one. Oh, it's not attached, that's attached to that. We take that, we click that, and then merge at the last, and it moves it. And then we're going to do the same with what we just did there. So we click. There's the top one, bottom one, merge at last. Could also do merge at center, probably wouldn't make any difference at all. So we're like, merge at center. Now I could try and break this model and mirror it, but I'm not going to, because I always bugger something up. Do I want to merge them? Oh there, Luke. How are you doing? Hope you're having a good day. Where are all these bits? Let's see, let's try and merge this at center. And then we get some dodgy stuff going on here. Gonna merge you at center as well. Okay. We're committed. I am currently just making a convex collider for my ship so that it doesn't. Did I merge at center or last? I've forgotten what I did there. Let's try and merge at center. And is that the same height as that? Yes. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, I'm doing alright. You know, getting by, slowly making progress on my video game. Eventually, we'll get somewhere with it. Let's see, I'm gonna merge at last. Doesn't need to be perfect. See, how is that? Merge at center. Yeah, and then merge at last. Why won't you let me do that? Merge at last. And then do the same again. No. No. Just this one. What motivates me to become a streamer? I am not motivated to become a streamer. When I was younger, I tried streaming video games because, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could stream video games and build a community and also make some money on the side as a hobby? Anywho, I was not consistent with it, which is the main thing you need to be. If you want to build that community, you need to be consistent. So that didn't pan out. And then I went to YouTube and doing YouTube videos, and again I wasn't consistent, and that didn't pan out either. And now I decided I would make video games, and one of the things you need to do for a video game is to build a community. And I stream when I can, as often as I can, to try and do that. And again, I'm not consistent enough to do that. So I am doing it to try and build a community of people who like space games and would play my games. And we get to talk about my games and other space games, etc, etc. Ah, this is confusing. What did I do? Merge at last. Is that what I did? So I did that, merge at last. Why, are you looking to do streaming yourself? Are you just curious about the whole get a real job thing that people say? Let's see. How about if I merge at center for this? Yeah, I'll do. Because now this is another hobby. Where do you see gaming world in next 2 years? That's a bit of a... What do you mean? Where do I see gaming world? Do I see video games, development of video games, the sales of video games, the community of video games? Can you expand a little bit more? Akira, oh, hello, another first time chatter. Welcome along. How are you doing? I am doing fine. Just trying to destroy someone else's model to make it work for me. How do I see it expand and grow? Well, I'm not really in the nitty-gritty depths of video game development, but the first thing we see, and this is the big one, is the introduction of generative AI. Like it or don't, it's becoming a main thing. Governments are getting behind it, and lots of organizations are getting behind it, but the implementation so far is haphazard and not fit for purpose, as you'll also read in the news articles about how a CEO fires off all his staff and replaces it with AI, and then has to hire staff back within a week because the AI cannot do the job of a human. So I will say that generative AI is going to be around, it'll be here to stay, but I hope it will shape to supplement and enhance and streamline the abilities of like the developers in there. And then the next thing is like PC gaming. That's quite popular, but then there's mobile gaming, which is hugely popular. So I don't see mobile or PC games going anywhere. It's interesting seeing what Xbox are doing, moving away from the Xbox hardware and using the brand to put it on other consoles. Now, I don't see Sony doing that because they are currently the leader in there, and the leaders don't do stuff like this. It's always the laggards who do. So Microsoft are failing behind on their hardware, and they're now trying to get a monopoly somewhere of doing what they're doing now. And then when their brand might get more stronger, they'll do the hardware and then stop doing games on other consoles again, I guess. What do you think streamer gain from streaming? What would you gain from streaming? It varies by person to person, to be honest. So I could only answer, what do I gain from streaming? First of all, try to be the very thing I keep failing at, which is consistent. And then showing off what I'm working on and showing off what games I like. So I like sci-fi games, space games, and that's the sort of stuff I play and make. So I'm trying to build a community to find other people who also like the same things as I do, but also to get them to buy my games. So maybe I could turn this from a hobby into a part-time job. I guess this is the next step, a secondary income, which then see where it evolves from there, if anything. Or there's a lot of failures, as we know. And especially where I do not have the skills to actually, how would I say it? I don't come from a AAA developer background or game developer background. Never got into that as a job. Been a programmer for years. But I've always enjoyed programming and like making video games. And one of the things I want to do is get better at it. So the only way you can do that is to be practicing. Oh, hello, another. Welcome along. Dark blue there. That tank wolfer. Welcome along. Hope you're doing well. And it also helps me show just how difficult it can be to do, the challenges I deal with, what to expect. It's not always about fun. Making a video game, a lot of complexity, like me taking a model that some professional 3D modeler has made and I've purchased, and now I'm decimating it and trying to make a very simple collider so ships don't get stuck on it. And that's what you need to start doing it for, to build a community, to start getting more viewers and new followers, because no one starts with a community straight away, a huge community, unless you got friends and get your friends involved, you know, that's your community. But if you want to expand and get a broader reach, you have to put yourself out there. So I've been streaming many years, but very inconsistently, and literally this is the first time where I've got like 3 first-time chatters chatting in my stream without being raided or anything, and the stream's been up for like 30 minutes. This is like, oh wow, unexpected for me, where people will come in, watch, disappear. Some people might come in and say hello, and then that's it, gone. And others might stop around and lurk or interact from time to time. All that's fine. But hopefully if they're stopping by and chatting, then we're trying to determine if they like me or not. It's my personality, and if they like my personality and they like my games, they might want to be more involved and join and interact more often. And the community starts here, and then I've got my Discord where people can go to Discord and talk to me there if they want to as well. But at the moment the focus is here. Discord's got people in it, but it's not very active. Well, it's not active at all. What do you mean, introduce yourself? What are you trying to do? Advertise? It's a bit of an odd question for you to say, especially someone who's only had an account since December with 3 followers. Just don't advertise yourself, because you're advertising to someone with no viewers. And that's the worst thing you can do. But hey, if you're interested in programming and software development or video games, talk to me about it. But asking, can I introduce myself, is a bit of a weird thing to do on Twitch. You know, just come along, have a chat. Right, you're not involved, that's fine then. But don't worry about it, you don't need to introduce yourself. If you want to hang around, just chat as you would a person. You wouldn't in real life go up to someone and say, hi, can I introduce myself? If you just want to talk to someone. It's a bit abrupt. You just go up, say hello, start talking. That's fine, my dude. You can be a legit guy who owns a website. I'm a legit guy who owns a website, you know? But I'm not interested in what you would like to introduce. No offense. I do mind. I don't want to check it out from a random person who comes along and says, hey, come check out my website. Would you? Random person, hi, check out my website, bye. Just not right. No offense to you, you could be the most upstanding person ever, but I'm going to decline at this time. Well, that's interesting. Look what's happened there. Did I have something Select. Oh yeah, I had that selected. That's the thing you got to be careful of. Let's see. What are you attached to? Just some random thing here. I mean, what's the worst that can happen by attaching it to that? I've already made my choice, friend. I've already made my decision. Respect that. And stop being pushy. I could actually get rid of this. I don't need to be too... Oh, I've done it again. Oh, so long ago. Oh, look at the mess of that. Give over. All the way back. Okay. Take care. Ow. I think we wanted to merge the center for this one, didn't we? And then merge at last. Merge at last, and now we've got similar shape there. Did you just try spamming a link? Even though I said no, you did it. Well, dumbass. I said no. And you did it anyway. I'm not interested in what you're selling. And you don't need to put an unban request in any way, because it was quite clear. I said, not interested. You decided to post a link anyway, trying to push it, whatever you're selling. I'm not interested. You're not doing me any favors. I'm not here for you to advertise on my channel. Simple as. Right, might as well. Okay. What's going on here? A different shape to that. Same. Exact same. Yeah. But wait. Have we made it any better? Okay. What's going on with this thing here? I've now got the faces down to 89. Maybe there would a better way of cleaning this up, but don't worry about it. Good, simplify it just a little bit more. Merge center, merge center, merge center. Do the same there. How far would it depreciate? Do these. Yeah. If I merge that at last, what do? Doesn't need to be perfect from this angle. Just needs to be simpled. There we go. Did I not do that? Okay. Or do you look at merge at center? Okay, I think I'm done with that now. It says iron up this little bit thing here. I'm gonna leave it. Right, that's the hull. What happens if I say Symmetrise. We've got 70 faces, now we've got 78. Oh, if we triangulate. How do you triangulate? Triangulate faces. Close to 106. That's what Unity would create. And if I do my decimation again, or limited dissolve, pounds 16. Hey, we'll just leave it like that, and we'll see what it does beyond that. The next thing actually is to do the same to this. Oh. And for this one, I'm gonna go a step further. So convex hull, then we're gonna decimate. The decimate only applies it to one. We're going to halve it. And which one did it do? 3. You see how it simplifies it? That will do. Or will it? How many? 180. 108 faces. Hello, where's the thing? Oh, face count 45. So we're going from 108 to 45. Really? That didn't make a difference. 53. You can see how the decimation works. You can see some of the problems with it. Where the symmetry gets destroyed, you can try and say, keep it on the, what would it be? On the Y? See here. Oh, that's not right. X, Z. Z, maybe. Oops. I do 0.3. How did I do? So we copied the data, paste data, yeah, apply the modifier. Was it? Nope, it was not. Forgotten how you copy that, apply the modifier to multiple things. We copy modify. Link transfer data, that was the menu. So we select that, Control L, copy modifiers, Control L, paste. No. What am I doing? Oh right, so you got to select them two and then select the last one with the modifier, Control Add, copy modifiers, modifiers now applied. Hopefully. Not quite. But because of this. Is it because of this? Well. Apply. I mean, I don't have to apply, but I'm going to apply. Because you can export to an FBX file, and Unity has a Blender has a tick box that allows you to say apply modifiers on export. But you could still keep the model. And then don't forget, just do our limited dissolve. Did it make a difference? "31 faces, 29 faces, 31 faces." There we go. There we go. See? "7 minutes till ads." Now we've still got this problem which we identified earlier of getting stuck in. But it's not a problem. I mean, these don't need be honest. Because we've got the detail colliders for that. So checking against that is, I'm going to say, pointless. There we go. It looks so weird now. You know what? Oh, we'll keep them for sakes. Sometimes. Oh, it doesn't like that symmetry, does it? Ugh. Oh, why, no, why? Let's convex it first, please. There we go. And again, pretty much. Half it. Come on. On the Z before, wasn't it? Actually, I'm showing how that is not right, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. Maybe I won't bother with that and just do a cleanup. Okay. Done. The grand scheme. "28 triangles isn't going to make much of a difference. With the whole complexity elsewhere. Sometimes you can overdo it. Overthink things and over-engineer. Now that we've done this, then apply rotation scale. Excuse me, where is you main body there? Camera view is limited. Where is it? Oh wow, keep forgetting. See, I'm not bothering. Right, apply rotation scale. Export as an FBX. And I have this preset which just sets it correct. Apply units, use cell space, no animation. On the mesh. Apply transform. export. And then what is this one? USS Maine. Ads are about to start, so rather than trying to rush it, I'll come back right after the ads. Be right back. Hey, bird. Yeah, CG Pitbull made this one. Well, all the ships, majority of the ships I'm using made by CG Pitbull. How are you doing anyway? Working on adding the collider for it. Oh, this is where I want it is, so I guess. Not texture packed, you know, but why is it there? Eating dinner and chilling. Nice. Where's it going? Ship 2. Right. Take that. And that. And move it to ships. Those are the colliders, and this is where we've got the colliders in, isn't it? I was working on UI, was I? Yeah, or might have been. Can't remember. It was only last week or two, wasn't it? Who knows? Yeah, I've just been working on the chapter 4 and pretty much fleshed out the first mission for that. But I didn't want to work on it on stream because it would spoilers, and then I need to decide where I'm moving on to the second and third one, which can't really work on stream because spoilers from the first one might overflow into there. But yeah, I decided to finish fully integrating this ship in here. I'll just open folder and then find my colliders that we've added. There we go. Set all the imports. It just likes to set everything wrong. Go about that, that on that, and then this should be the exact same shape. There we go. Pretty close. That's fine. Nothing's going to get stuck on those little bits peeking through. You see, this is going to be the detail collider, which if I just remove the renderer component, and then sliders, thank you. What? Why is it not showing the collider? Oh, make convex. There you go. You can see the holes in there, but the simple collider is to stop ships from being able to fly through these little gaps and get stuck on the geometry in between. So now they'll avoid that huge one, but weapons can still pass through these areas where the gaps are for the detail collider. That's more the detailed model shape where things would hit and not hit. Absolute pain in the ass. And some of these bigger boxes are the subsystem components. Now that we've got this, no, don't replace. I don't. What's auto collision in Unreal Engine 5? I don't know. I don't know it. I've never used that feature in or Unreal Engine, so I couldn't comment without further information. Push a button and it draws collision for you. You mean it creates the colliders for you, like that, like collider done. That's what you mean? No. Well, quite literally, that is Unity's ability to draw collision on a whole model, because it's called a convex. And Unity no longer support concave. So what you have to do is break the model down into small pieces, so then you can have the illusion of concave. That's the illusion of concave, but when you're looking at it, it's like all these colliders that make up the collider for that ship, for the detailed one. And then the stuff you could buy on the Unity Asset Store, and even that's not perfect. And fails to generate the geometry you need correctly. So I just find it's easier to do in Blender. And it might take a few hours, but when you see the results, you probably think, why did I do it in the first place? Because of the scales of these things, you're not really getting the... You don't get to see its true worth of it because of the distances involved. I mean, like, you look at this. I've selected it. Like that wing here. See, it's got a collider around on it. But would it matter? Would I have just made this go all the way over as one shape? Because when you look at it at this distance, like, you can't even see that bloody spoiler thing there. And it's only when you're getting right up close that you might notice if you were stationary. But if you fly past it, you're not going to notice. But I'm not particularly skilled at it, and I'm sure there's plenty of performance improvements or visual improvements on the mesh that could be done. But even when I've been doing it, I'm not seeing any significant difference or any performance when I'm doing my performance testing. Well, yeah, if I was to just have the intricate details of this model as it was, it'd be very... Because let's have a look. Save this. So this model that I'm using has 8,936 triangles. Now if I go and open up my detailed collider, which I have broken down into many subsequent pieces, I've also simplified the geometry. That's why the mesh texture looks so wrong, because it's a collider. And I've got that down to 3,754 triangles. So 8,000. So just knocked 2/3 off of that. And I could probably simplify it even further. like I said, some of these details you'd not see. So I could literally merge them together as a convex and that. But given that a character in a AAA video game is made up of millions of triangles, I'm not worried about the performance for my game on that regard. You know? I'm sure it's more performant than a AAA game because of the details. Yeah, I think you'd have to go into the millions to start noticing stuff. Things that really cause a performance hit at the moment I've noticed is like the Unity trail renderer. That's a big performance killer. But I noticed that more in the Unity editor. So you have to create a test debug version, build, and then profile it in the actual build to see what is the true performance hits. What about lights? Real-time lighting? Yeah, that's a performance problem, of course. Every engine has that issue. And I only just started looking at improving or enhancing the shadows a couple of months back. Get the shadows on and messing around with the settings so the shadows look right from various distances. And some weapons do have lights and whatnot. And I did come across a particular issue which hopefully I've resolved. But I need to test further for different graphic settings. Where are you? Is it here? There, I think I moved it to known. Yeah. This thing. So lights and shadows in Unity, it will spam this message or something very similar if there's a problem. So for the shadow maps, bit the shadow atlas, and it's just a warning that just spams the console in Unity, or if it's in the build, it'll just spam the player log file, which is very unhelpful. So that's something to look out for, and I'm not skilled on lighting in any way. That's something I need to investigate further myself and make sure it's going to at least work right. For the lighting I've got a main lighting source, a secondary lighting source. That main lighting source is the sun. The secondary lighting source is like the ambient lighting. And then, yeah, it's a case of like faffing around with all the shadow settings, which is not easy. And I don't have great detail because where does it apply? It's on the camera, is it? So you got I've got very little knowledge on it. So you got the main camera, got the rendering, occlusion, render shadows, and then you've got the URP asset. Where is it? You've got these settings here for adjusting the lights, and then you've got the light source itself. So you've got the camera, you've got the URP asset. Yes. And then got a light source in here. Let's just create one quickly. Right, the light source itself, maybe that's the wrong one. Area light, or a point light. Yeah, point light. Then you got each light source, which you then, well, shadows set up individually, I think. Or hopefully the URP asset will handle that. But at the moment it looks like, do you want to do shadows, hard shadows, soft shadows? Or want the most detailed one? And then change the setting and say, actually, I want to use lower. Do I have to find every light source of a point light and then programmatically change that? I hope not. That'd be a pain in the ass. But just do it by the URP asset. And that'd be great. I don't know. Like I say, not got much experience with lights. I mean, my last game, literally, light source was on. Every projectile that fired for lasers, weapons, and weapon hits, and I never had any issues with that message popping up at the time. But now that I'm using really big ships, much bigger than the ships in Absolute Territory, that is where that has come in, and now I have to experiment and learn lighting more in Unity. So you say, but I don't know the differences between that and Unreal, and I don't know a great deal of lighting in this. There's also lighting I use in Absolute Territory was using the old rendering system, and then I added in the URP, which I wish I didn't, to be honest. Don't worry. It's stuff I would like to figure out and learn as I go along, and that's part of the process. Hopefully I'll get there and figure it out. It's just not a focus that I've been on at this time. Now we're really trying to get the missions out and done, and then I can add the polish at the end, because once I've got the campaign nailed down and everything I wanted in there, I can add other stuff. Universal renderer pipeline. It's not specifically lighting. The old rendering did dynamic light, but it's whatever the new rendering pipeline they decided to come out with, which they said would be better than the old one. So it changes everything and breaks shaders and whatnots when you go from basic render to Unreal to Universal Render Pipeline. So it's supposed to be an improvement, but if you look at the guy who did Falconer, and actually it's called Bulwark, isn't it? The game, the city building game he made in the ocean, and that Unity approached him and said, like, oh, can we use that as a showcase? We're using Universal Render Pipeline. And he said, well, actually, no, I did this with the basic render pipeline. It's created this beautiful atmosphere, and lighting and shading and fogging and all that on basic renderer. And it's like, didn't need the overhead for URP, because URP was just an absolute nightmare to get it working. You have to get rid of the whole post-processing system, and then it's missing features, just like with everything that Unity adds in, missing features. It's like, seriously, just get it fully baked and completed. But the problem is we're stuck with this now. Half complete, half baked features, because there was a leak saying someone wanted to just destroy, get rid of, fully replace the whole old rendering pipelines. You know, the basic one, the URP, the high definition URP as well, and just create something new and just get rid of the whole legacy aspects and deprecate it fully. But the management don't want to do that because it would effectively, you know, upend a lot of people's projects. But it does anyway. Whenever Unity comes out with a new version, it breaks so much stuff. So I think they should have just bit the bullet and said, yeah, okay, we will do that, and then we'll work to help people upgrade their projects into that and have the benefit of a much more optimized and fully featured render pipeline. You know, don't just do half bake it and then throw it out as a version when it doesn't have complete features. Do your little beta channels, let people test it and give advice on it, and then fully bake it. And then when you've got all the features required, create your next version of Unity. Like Unity 7, or it'll be Unity 20 by the time they'd ever do that. But yeah, they keep firing the devs who know all the knowledge, and no one knows how to... no one knows the inner workings, so we're just stuck on a what was a solid foundation, and now everything's just rickety built up on top of it, I guess. Or partially solid foundation, which never got fully completed and has now got forgotten what was supposed to be done or what was planned because they fired those people off. Like when they dedicated and got a whole team to make a video game in Unity because they wanted to understand how people would use Unity. They did it, they finished the game, and then they fired the whole team. What did they learn from that? Fuck all. Yeah, one of those things, isn't it? Yeah. What they did when John Riccititillo was still there, just before they did the whole, we're going to charge you on a per install basis. I think it was around about that time. Before or just after. They fired the whole thing. It must have been just after when they realised, like, oh shit, we can't get revenue that way. So they just fired them. And, like, wow. Talking about cutting your nose off to spite your face, you know? Yeah. Sure, they could have learned a great deal from that, but no. But I was just gonna have to hire new talent who've got no idea or the depth and breadth and knowledge of Unity, and just it's worth thinking. You shouldn't have gone for shareholders, because look what it's done. Destroyed a great thing. I should have gone for what they called, you know, those investors who don't do it via shares, angel investors. Should have done it that way. Or if they couldn't get an angel investor, carry on until they did and find out why when they're not getting angel investors. Because looking back now, you can see why. Because the way they were going was not going to work, and it didn't. Godot, well, it's open source, it's free, and it's being expanded on, and people like it. I've played around with Godot, it's sort of similar, and people are making games and selling games on it. It's just another tool. Given from the monetary standpoint of it, you know, you're better off with Godot as opposed to Unity, because Unity screwed the pooch with that whole install fees, and you know, that's what you got to consider the future now. I mean, if Unity goes under, would they release the source code? You're stuck on the version you got then, and then you've got to rely on people to backwards engineer, and even if they can do that, release a source code and create updates. It's like with Microsoft XNA, when they purged that, people then built on top of that frameworks for an XNA. So. Godot will be really good for 2D, because Unity is not supposedly good for 2D, because it's got a load of that 3D overhead in there, which then, you know, Godot also doing 3D could get that problem. So then you might want to look at something like Game Maker, which is specifically 2D, isn't it? Right, so alright job. I mean, the best thing with Unity is the asset store, with all the assets that they provide in there. Now, if only those assets didn't get deprecated so quickly by the developers on various versions of Unity. Because I bought loads of assets, but I don't get to use them. Within a couple of years, it's deprecating. They've got a newer version that comes out. Really, only buy those assets if you're going to be needing it right there and then, rather than thinking, after this game I might do that. So that's why now I just purchase models more than anything. And if I do find an asset with code in it, and it's going to be like, am I going to use it there and then? Like Rayfire, which is breaks models apart and turns them into pieces. Not good for me doing that in real time because the performance of it doing it is slow, but if I pre-do it, pre-bake it and use that, great. Save me a lot of effort with doing that in Blender. Let's see, so we got our shirts, we got our glider in there now. We didn't set it up just yet, did we? I want to create the prefab. Thank you. And then we open this, get rid of the mesh renderer component, not needed. This is simple collidable, change the children, tag is mesh, should do this on all the prefabs to be honest. Not mesh actually, is it? Probably. I think it's just that, isn't it? So take it your Real Engine there, Bird? Is that your wheelhouse, your primary method of development? You like it? I'm looking at your Twitch history, streams. Making a game. What game are you making? Tell me about your game. You might have already told me, but I'm asking again. Tell me about your game. Give me your elevator pitch for it. Get your practice in for that one. Why would someone want to buy your little puzzler platformer game? Your elevator pitch. 30 seconds or 2 sentences. You don't have the pitch. Oh. That's fine. I struggle with my pitch. I keep saying it. So, yeah, it's a space combat game with automated turrets, damageable subsystems, damageable layers, damageable parts, and it's like, how can I explain that better that people are interested? So it's a space combat game with large warships, a detailed damage system, subsystems that affect the performance of the ship, and then I need to like round it off with a story-based campaign with random missions to build and equip your ship. See, my elevator bit shit, but I've been thinking about it and trying to improve it, like on the store page. Do you have a unique? What's the main feature of your puzzle platformer? What's the main game mechanic? Because that'll be your centerpiece for your elevator pitch. Time reversal. There we go. Nice. That's your main pitch to put forward. Already, just saying time reversal in a platformer, puzzle platformer, has already piqued my interest, even though I don't play puzzle platformers. So yeah, make sure you come up with the elevator pitch on that and how this time reversal is like. Why is it so cool? You know, like Blink's the Time Sweeper. You remember that game on the Xbox? Yep. You can undo your mistakes, but then is it like just the oh shit button in that racing game? Based on Toka series and then turned into driving. Oh, what's it called? There's a racing game. Oh, there's probably more. The first one it did, where if you fell off the track, you could hit a button and reverse back and avoid that mistake. There you go. That's your next thing. So you got time reversal, undo your mistakes, or use that time reversal to even complete or solve puzzles. And when you're throwing in the atmosphere of limbo, I know what limbo is, don't know about Little Nightmares, then you're also catering to that audience, getting their interest in there. There you go. You're sort of getting your elevator pitch in there. So much easier for me to do it for someone else than it is for me. How long have you been working on it? When do you plan to release it, or do you plan to release on it? You're going to release it on Steam. Are you advertising other than doing what I'm doing and streaming? Do anything I'm not doing. So that would be tweeting about your game every day. Your first game. Hey, listen, Absolute Territory was my first commercial game. And it took me over 10 years from when I conceived that particular vision of it to release. Previous attempts failed.
Mike 7 Tyson just followed.
Hello, Mike Tyson. How you doing? Hope you got all that cool money from that fight the other month against that streamer guy. You know. Alright, so first game, yeah. So with mine, Absolute Certainty, that was my first commercial game. The biggest problem I had was reducing scope. So at a point where I really wanted to get it finished, which was about halfway through its development, I started like, this is the features what I wanted. And I reviewed that on sort of like a weekly, monthly basis, stuff I was doing. And eventually I started taking features out, this is what I want into there, to this is what it needs to be, and putting the want into this would be nice to have. So limiting down the scope, because my scope for the game was bigger than I could have handled, you know. So keep an eye on your scope, think about stuff, is this really going to make a difference to your game? Get your core concepts in there, core mechanics in there, and try and release it as quickly as possible. That's the next thing. Don't try to do, and you'll hear this many times, and tell me if I'm already telling you how to suck eggs, because I don't want to do that. You really just want to get it out the door as quick as you can, and if it's not your dream game that you're envisioning, that doesn't matter. It gives you the experience of releasing a game that someone can play, and then you get feedback and learn from it, and then you can work on your next game, and that next game could be a sequel to that one and build on top and onto it. So absolute territory, space combat with space fighters, absolute A-Spec, what I'm working on now, Corvette ships in space, same theme. Dude, I'll just do it. Have you got your Steam page up? If you've not, get a Steam page. Legal side. What legal side? Are you an actual organisation? Depends where you are in the world. In the UK, all I need to be is register as a sole trader, is what they call it. I'm not even a business entity, I'm just an individual. So that means I register for self-assessment. And then you've got the tax forms you've got to fill out for Steam, and you can figure that out by Googling it and looking it on Reddit. Or if it's really complicated and you've got to set yourself up a business entity, which I wouldn't want to do at that point. You want to get the most basic thing, but it's not going to cost you a fortune wherever you are. You need to start looking into it, basically. So for me, in the UK, yeah, registered for self-assessment, put in my tax form to Steam. That basically says I qualify for no tax on sales in US, because there's a US-UK treaty, which doesn't tax me on those sales. But so I pay my 30% to Steam or Valve, and then I pay my 20% to the taxman in the UK on that. And then I do my tax every year, self-assessment, which is complicated, but thankfully my mum does that for me, because she does finances and understands it somewhat. So she's my financial person. And that just means I need to keep all my receipts, the stuff that I will say are my expenses for my entity, my trading name, which is Digitum Software. And it might be that you just want to hire an accountant who will do that for you. But definitely get your Steam page, get all that ball rolling. There's nothing worse than be working on your game and then it's finished and you're thinking, oh shit, I've not told anyone about my game, I've not set up a store page, I've got to go through all these hoops. Start doing that now and you slow get through it, and then build your store page up. Simple trailer, doesn't have to be anything fancy, just gameplay, 30 seconds of gameplay, that's all you need. Screenshots, description, short description, long description, remember that time mechanic, your elevator pitch, and start seeing what wish lists are like coming in. Start telling people about your store page, because well, for me, my wish list of income wish list rate is terrible, really poor. It's like I'm lucky if I can get one wish list a day. So the longer you got that store page up while you're working on your game, the more opportunity you've got to get more wish lists to come in. And then by the time you've released it, when you click that release button, everyone who's wishlisted your game gets that notification saying, hey look, game's released. You don't even have to put 20% discount on it. You can use it like 10% or full price, whatever. And then every sale after that, anyone on your wish list gets a notification of your game going on sale with a minimum discount of 20%. Anything less than that, that notification doesn't ping off. But yeah, definitely start looking at it. You know, set a few hours a week for doing it. You know, sort of figuring out all the financial stuff and whatnot. That's my advice based on what I went through. Don't rush it. It's not a rush. It's not a sprint. You're in it for the long haul. So make sure you set up, keep yourself covered in your country. That the government ain't going to be knocking on your door for doing something wrong, like not paying your taxes, and whether or not you what sort of entity you need to create to be trading as well in your country. It's a lot, but you get started on it and you'll figure it out. And then, yeah, don't work long on it. How long have you been working on this game for, and how long to when you believe it'll be finished? Because with your first game, you want to get it short. 9 months combined. Okay. Well, it's already quite long for your first game. You want to get it shorter, like a month. You know, really small games build on it, get better at it. But if you think you're going to get that finished within that time frame, I mean, how long till completion now? Is it only just a matter of a handful of months? Then okay, finish it. Get your levels done, kick it out the door, get your feedback, learn from that, keep doing it. Sounds like very same position you from. Self-taught. The only program I learnt in uni, nothing to do with game development. I got a job as a software engineer, as a full-time job, and learn everything as I go along, you know. So in summer you have to stop. Well, that's your release date. Get your game out before you have to stop. You know, give yourself enough time, because when it comes to testing and release, you probably want to give yourself at least a month to make sure everything is done. Because you're going to have to upload your build to Steam, and it doesn't have to be the fully finished one, it has to be working. So once you've got your game near complete, submit that build to Steam. Have Valve do their checks on it, and they'll come back saying like, oh, the game has to pause when you unplug it, or it needs to do this, X, Y, and the other. And it's not really about how well the game plays, but is it in a playable state? Steam playtest option. Well, if you're going to do that, do it now. Literally. You'll probably find you won't get a great deal of feedback. This thing for your first game is get your friends, play it, and ask for feedback from them. Yeah, that would be your best at the moment. Because when I did a private test before Steam did this playtest, and from 100 people registering interest in that, all the way went down to about a handful of people who actually gave me some feedback on it. It dramatically dropped from, yeah, I'm interested, to getting into Discord, to getting them to key, to giving me some feedback. Just drops drastically. With the Steam playtest, if you're going to do that, create your page, make it open, that when they can join when they join, and then maybe have a feedback form in the game that directs you to a Google survey form or something like that, that they can quickly just fill in and send to you. And if you're lucky, you might get 1 or 2 people to respond to that and give you some feedback. It's a lot. So I would personally, in your position, with only a matter of months left, I would try and get friends to play it, get feedback on it, and then start finishing it. Don't add more mechanics in it. Build your levels, get your levels done, tested, make sure you can get through to the end of your game, and then get it released. Because then it's like, why do you have to stop in summer? Is that it? End of it? Or you just need to have some time aside before you can carry on again? All that stuff you've got to manage. And remember, things will take probably twice as long as you think it is. Or maybe even 4 times longer. Actually, 4 times than you think it would take. For me, I personally find that when I estimate how long something will take, I need to at least double that initial thought of how long it would do. And it's something you might get better over time. It took me a while to get to that point. And then eventually it was like, well, yeah, it seems like I'll do this, but I'm just going to have to double that value because things don't quite work out as you think it would. Two levels. Learning doesn't pay bills, but it opens the door to opportunities towards start giving you pocket money towards doing that. But even making video games is not going to guarantee you to pay your bills. You will, unless you've created something very unique and appealing to an audience on Steam, then your first game ain't going to be making you any money in return. Absolute Territory is an absolute flop for me in monetary terms, even after 5 years of being released. Is it 5? Came out in September 2020. So just over 4 years. It's not paying the bills. So I work as a hobby on my video game projects that maybe they might start bringing in some secondary income. But yeah, keep your full-time job. That's the thing. Well, that's the same thing. I love doing it. It's a pain in the ass at times, and irritating and all that, but working on it is fun in the long run. With its challenges and that, learning stuff. Exactly. Creating your own stuff. And the goal is hopefully to get to a point where you can work on it full time. If that's, what you want to do. Because you could always get a career in it, can't you? Work in a studio, small studio, whatever. Or for yourself. For me, I know personally, better off working on my own. Like working in teams, too much thing. I'm not a leader. I'm not someone who can manage teams well. I'm not even someone who's really good at being creative, but I'm trying to do that. But if something's going to flop, at least I've limited the damage to be done on that. So I'll keep making games. I'll use my money to fund what I need to do on it, and then maybe I might get to a point where I'm getting enough secondary income where I can say, you know what, I can work on this as part-time with a part-time job, and that job is paying the bills still, and the secondary one is adding on top of that, you know, where it's like, well, if I screw the pooch on it, I could always go back to a full-time job or get another job, work two jobs while working the hobby, you know. At least you still got a job, main income, that's your priority, and learn as you go. I have been learning to make games for longer than I want to admit. Since around 1998. So 96 is like, I'm interested in making video games. 97 is when I actually, I think it was like Basic at that time. I started learning on it and always wanted to make video games and made demos and small games and stuff like that. Never made anything commercial. Never really finished anything too big of a project. Got very close once, but I stopped. It's hard, but life is hard, yeah. Keeping a job, full-time job is hard. Very boring. At times. Depends what job you're doing. But it's also hard. So it's just one of those things, and balancing the needs of it. But doing something you enjoy doing is always a good thing to be doing, because then you don't see it as a job, do you? Got that drive to actually want to breathe and do better and create games that people want to play, love to play, and enjoy playing. Hope it all goes well for you. I've waffled on enough, and that's also come up to 2 hours for my streaming. So I'm limiting myself, not streaming but for more than 2 hours. It's what I feel like I can manage, what I've learnt best to manage, and then handle the rest of my day or whatever I do. You did physical jobs last summer coming home, and then doing Unreal Engine 5, and understood it wasn't an option. But physical jobs, what I found is when I was working as a software developer, is I didn't want to come home and really work on video games, making my own video games. Part of that was the mistake of having downtime between leaving the job and then starting on what I wanted to work on as a project. Because once I had that downtime, my brain switched modes from work mode to relax mode, and trying to get it back to work mode again was not going to happen. So what I then did, eventually learned, is I work jobs with shift patterns. So I'd either work for a couple hours before I went to work and come home, and then immediately work for a couple hours after work. And then once that's out of the way, I can switch off and focus on whatever else wasn't related to my job or my current hobby. That feels too much like a job at times. You just got to figure out what works for you. So for me, finishing work straight onto what I want to work on for an hour or two, and then if I want to work on it longer, sure, no worries. But at least trying to get an hour's worth of work done in that day, without taking a big break, because that break is, anyway, driving from work to home. That's not still considered for my brain. I'm working on something, but if I sit down, start watching TV, then that switches my brain and say, well, that's it, relax mode, and then getting started on something is a massive struggle. Anyhow, that's about to start in 40 seconds, so I'm going to stop stream here, because I don't want the ads to begin. Thanks for chatting, Bird. Best of luck with that, and catch you out later. For everyone else, check out my demo. There we go. Good old it's going to work. Oh, no worries. Got to share my experiences and take what you want for what it works and what doesn't. My advice isn't gospel, stuff I've learned. So just keep practicing and learning and reducing scope. Bye for now.